Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Jason, and this is the new ICECO APL 35. New 35 liter, 12 volt, all aluminum fridge. And the little brother to my APL 55 that I just did a video on a few weeks ago. So with the APL 35 and the APL 55, these are the most aesthetic fridges out there on the market today. This very shiny aluminum finish, it is definitely something that really stands out. I think it is the best looking fridge right here on the market right now. All right, so let's talk about what you actually get in the box. So first of all, obviously you're gonna get this fridge here, 12 volt right here, which is actually really upgraded. I really like this a lot. This actually goes sideways like this instead of up and down like a lot of them do, which is really nice because the plug is right down here at the bottom. This also does have 4 of these little prongs. Most of them, of all 12 volts that I have, only have 2 of these prongs, so this is really strong, and strong spring here as well. So if you run these on grid, you have this in your office or something, you do have this little power brick here if you need to run this off of a wall. If you do need the manual, it is right here for you. So let's go ahead and talk about my favorite thing about this fridge right here, and that is going to be this all aluminum body you see here. So it's going to make it easier to keep it cool because it is going to reflect heat better. So it's going to get a more even cool on the inside as well. And yes, you heard me right, on the inside as well. This has aluminum on the outside and on the inside. Both of the dual zones in here are going to be made of aluminum. Pretty much every single thing on this fridge is going to be aluminum, except for the seals, this little piece here on the handle, screen here, and everything down here at the plugs. So that is something we have never seen on a fridge in this category. So this isn't a crazy expensive fridge. This one sits at about a mid-price fridge, so to see something like that on here is actually pretty wild. So the old notion with these fridges is that you don't really leave them out in the sun because those plastics out there on the outside will absorb heat and just make this compressor work even harder. This seems to be the one that is the exception to the rule, because with this aluminum kind of reflective outside here, you'll notice a lot lower heat on the outside, which transfers to a lower heat on the inside. So it's much lighter in color and more reflective, so you're going to see a much more reflective light and reflective heat capabilities with this fridge. Now, I still personally, no matter what the fridge is, I wouldn't leave it out in the sun. I mostly would just leave this wherever it's going to be stored, so I'll either keep that inside my vehicle, inside the back of the truck, or just in a shaded area. There's no reason to make the compressor work harder than it really needs to. So this has 2 zones here, 27 liter plus 8 liter. So that's going to be 27 liters in the larger one. And then the second zone is going to have a capability of 8 liters. You can either make this a fridge and a freezer, a fridge and a fridge, or a freezer and a freezer if you would like. Personally, myself, in the dual zones, I usually just leave it as a full fridge. On the smaller side, I'll usually put my deli meats, my cheeses, stuff I need to get to really quickly. And then I'll have my bulky items like cans, bottles, big pieces of meat, stuff like that. I'll keep that in the larger one. But if you really wanted to, you could have all your fridge stuff in here and put some ice cream in here or popsicles or something like that. So the really cool thing about this is that you can run both of these zones from about 68 degrees all the way down to -4. For me, I think -4 is pretty overkill. I like to kind of keep my stuff at about 35 to 38, which I find the best for combining the least amount of power used as well as the safest zone for anything that I would need to keep in the fridge. I also like to mention that both of these do have lights, so if you just need to get into the smaller compartment, you can do that, or if you just need to get into the large one, you can see whatever you're looking at there. Definitely a huge upgrade, as a lot of other ones will just have one up on the top and makes it a little bit harder to see. Now, another really cool thing about this, because it is all aluminum, this is a super lightweight fridge. It's only 32 pounds, which means that it actually has more liters of storage than it does in weight in pounds. So a really good bang for the buck. So at the time of filming, this is the lightest weight 35 liter fridge on the market right now. So as I mentioned, all of these parts are aluminum. So let's go ahead and start off with the first piece of aluminum, and that is going to be these clasps here. Now, I really do prefer fridges that have the clasps. Even though fridges will close, it is nice to have it so that it actually locks down and you know your stuff is secure. So the reason those clasps are so nice on this fridge is that the seals on here are actually really beefy. So you can see here how thick those are. Now if you were just to press that down, the lid doesn't close with that. So in order to close it, if you really want to get that lid down, you put the clasps down, and that will basically compress this, making a really tight seal on that really beefy seal on the inside there. So on the sides here, you do have aluminum corner protection as well. And then on the back, you do have aluminum scissor hinges on here. That makes it so this lid is able to do several positions and hold its position. So you'll see here that this lid can sit at any of these positions and will not close on your fingers. For the most part, I haven't found a single position where it won't stay in place all the way back and pretty much all the way to the very bottom. Now it's really great for adults because you don't want to get your hand smashed in there, but it's especially great for kids, as if they're reaching in here, you don't want their little fingers smashed with the weight of the lid. Although the lid isn't very heavy as it sits anyway, it is really nice to have that extra layer of precaution so that no one smashes their fingers with the lid of the fridge. So on either side there are these handles, and they are spring loaded. If you need to pick this up, it does have a really nice stiff handle here, but if you are going to be putting this on a fridge slide, it is really great to have this right here because you can strap it down to that fridge slide, making sure that it doesn't go anywhere. Or if you just want to strap it to your vehicle to make sure it doesn't move around, then you can use these as that anchor point. Now, if you do need a fridge slide for this, they actually do make one specifically for this. So I'll drop a link below to that one if you want to get a fridge slide with this. Super bright, very hot day. This has been sitting in the car off for quite some time here. So we're sitting at like 70, 80s, even though it's like 90s, mid 90s out here. May not be able to see it with this camera. I can see it perfectly fine with my eyes. However, because of the polarization in this lens here, sometimes it doesn't show up. So you can either press these buttons manually. There's only 4 buttons here, but everything you need to do is pretty much right here. You can turn it off, you can turn it on. Refrigeration, you can do it refrigerator or freezer here. We're going to keep it on refrigeration. I've got it on eco mode, which is going to be the quietest mode here. You're not going to be able to hear anything. But if I turn it on max, there will be a little bit of compressor noise as this tries to just go ahead and make it as fast as possible. Then you've got over here device information, you've got your battery protection, Fahrenheit. I live in the US, so I keep it at Fahrenheit. So it's essentially an app you can use as long as you're within range. This is a Bluetooth app, so if you're in the car around the general area of the unit, then you'll be able to use the app fine. Especially if you have this in the back of your vehicle, you're on the move, and you want to control the temperature from the front. Easy to do, just pop your phone out, connect it, and you'll go ahead and be able to control everything you need from the front of your vehicle. So you also do have a max and a eco mode. Now, obviously the max is going to be the maximum strength, and the eco is just going to make sure that it runs in a power saving kind of mode. I'll typically keep this on eco because I do pre-chill these before I actually use them. Every single time I go out, if I have a cooler, if I have a fridge, I will pre-chill that before I go out. And I still do recommend that for anyone using a fridge or a cooler. You'll cool it off in the house where you're not using your power bank or your car. Now, as compressors do get faster and better, it's less and less of a necessity to do that pre-chilling, although I still definitely recommend it. This one will be able to go from 77 degrees down to 32 degrees in about 11 minutes. That is by far the fastest I've seen in any of my fridge tests. So this also is the quietest fridge I've ever used. In the eco mode, you really can't hear anything. It is whisper quiet. In the max mode, when it's working its hardest, it is still going to be pretty much the quietest one I've ever used. But on eco mode, you really don't even hear it. It is almost silent. Now, this compressor in here does have a 5-year warranty, although it is a SECOP compressor, and that means it's likely that you'll never ever have to do that warranty, but it is there if you need it. So it is also one of the most efficient compressors out there, especially if you do get the power bank, the PB1000. Now, ICECO did run its tests with that PB1000. They were able to get a whopping 55 hours out of this fridge. Now, in that test, they were running the dual zones. One side was on a -4 and the other was at 41. I don't have the PB1000, so I can't run that test. So I'll have to take their word for that one on those results. All right, it is 8:53. This is at 100% here. We're at 75 degrees. Go ahead and close up this lid. I'm gonna put this at 39 and 39. This is a 250 watt little power bank here from ICECO. Just two things that this test shows. Basically that this 250 watt power bank here was able to run this for more than 24 hours. Now there was nothing inside of here, no load, and I didn't open this at all. It was able to run it even in 94-degree temperature with only 250 watts here. Second thing it shows is just how quick the battery can be depleted by not pre-chilling it. So we took it from 70 down to 30 something, and it used almost 3% of the battery off of this. So that is why I always pre-chill it before I use it. So you would ideally want a larger power bank than this, or to be able to run this off of your car or another power bank while you're traveling. I run these off of my car while I'm traveling. And then when I get to campsite, that's when I use the power banks. So if you have that ability, that's the way I would recommend to do it. So the measurements on this fridge here is going to be 27 inches across here. It's going to be 15.7 or around 16 inches tall, and then 14.4 on the side here. So the interior dimensions of the large one on this side is going to be 11.8 inches tall by 14.1 across here, and then 9.9 deep. We have dimensions of 6.3 inches tall here. Again, that same 9.9 across here, and then 7.9 across this section. Essentially, that means you can have 57 cans in here, 25 bottles of water, and up to about 12 bottles of wine, depending on the brand. That means you get a ton of capacity on the interior with not a ton of space taken up on the outside. So this fridge is great for a number of different applications. I think this is the perfect size. You know, a 35 liter is about what I need. Most of my trips are about 2 or 3 days, so this is pretty much more than enough for most people, I think. You know, even if you have a family, you can just load things in as you go. If you do have a very large family, maybe you go with the APL 55. Just think about what your uses are, what you currently use as your fridge or your cooler, and then kind of make an assessment there whether you would need the 35 or the 55. Overall, I think this fridge will work for a number of different people. Whether you have like a little Crosstrek or a Forester, this will fit inside of there. If you have a big full-size truck like mine, it still does have enough space inside that you don't have to consider going to a larger one. Great for people that can't buy themselves because it doesn't take up a ton of space. It's good for families because you can put in the smaller section here, you can make that a freezer, you can put some popsicles or ice cream. And I think for most people, the APL 35 is going to be the perfect size. That being said, like the video if you liked the video, subscribe if you like what I'm doing, and I'll see you guys in the next video.